Is religion a scam? Have you ever stopped and asked yourself why you believe what you believe? Not what you say you believe, not what you wish you believed. I mean, what you truly believe deep down, about God, about right and wrong, about life after death, about who you are, and what happens to you when you die. Where did those beliefs come from? And here's a harder question. Did you choose them, or did you inherit them? Because most of us don't discover our beliefs. We absorb them. We repeat them. We defend them. And eventually, we confuse familiarity with truth. So today, I'm not here to insult anybody's faith. I'm not here to mock religion. I'm not here to convert you to anything. This channel is called Questioning My Belief for a reason. This is about one thing. Are you willing to look at your beliefs honestly, even if it makes you uncomfortable? Let me ask you something. If you were born in a completely different country, with a different language, a different culture, a different family, would you believe the same religion you believe today? If your answer is probably not, then what does that say about belief? Because if the truth changes depending on where you were born, was it truth? Or was it conditioning? Think about this. How many of your biggest beliefs were taught to you when you were too young to challenge them? When you were a child, were you allowed to question? Or were you trained to obey? Because there's a difference. And we need to be honest about that difference. Here's another question. When you first learned about heaven and hell, did it feel like information? Or did it feel like a warning? Did it bring peace? Or did it plant fear? Because fear is powerful. Fear of death, fear of punishment, fear of being wrong, fear of disappointing your family, fear of being rejected. And I've noticed something. A lot of belief systems don't start with evidence. They start with fear, and then they offer the cure. And I want you to sit with this question. If a belief is true, why does it need fear to protect it? Why does it need threats? Why do some teachings feel like, believe this or else? Is that truth? Or is that control? Let's go deeper. Have you ever noticed how some beliefs are designed to be untestable? Like, the biggest promises are always pushed into the afterlife, and you can't verify them. You can't review them. You can't confirm them. So ask yourself, if the main reward is after you die, how would you ever know if you were misled? How would anybody? And if something can't be questioned, can't be tested, can't be verified, why is it treated as more certain than things we can actually prove? Now here's where it gets personal. I want you to answer this honestly. Have you ever stayed in a belief system, not because you were convinced it was true, but because you were afraid of what would happen if you left? Afraid of losing your community? Afraid of losing your family? Afraid of losing your identity? Afraid of being labeled lost, rebellious, deceived, backslidden, demonic, wicked? Because that fear is real, and it creates a trap. You can't question, because questioning risks your relationships. You can't leave, because leaving risks your life as you know it. So the belief becomes less about truth, and more about survival. Let me ask a question that might hit hard. If you can't question your belief, is it your belief, or does it own you? Because real truth doesn't require you to be afraid. Real truth can handle questions. And if a belief system punishes curiosity, what is it really protecting? Truth or power? Now let's talk about something people don't like to talk about. Money. Why is money so connected to spirituality in so many places? Why do so many people feel guilty for not giving? Why does generosity sometimes feel less like love and more like obligation? And why is it that in some environments, the people with the biggest authority also end up with the biggest benefits? I'm not saying every religious organization is corrupt, but I am asking, if giving is truly voluntary, why is it so often tied to fear, or blessing, or shame? Why do some people feel like God is watching their wallet? Why does faith sometimes feel like a financial system? And here's a question you might never have asked out loud. If your spiritual leader asked you to stop giving money completely, would the system survive? If the answer is no, then what exactly is being sustained? Now let's talk about morality, because this is another big one. A lot of us were taught, without religion, there is no morality. But is that true? Ask yourself this. Before you ever learned scripture, did you already understand kindness? Did you already feel empathy? Did you already know it was wrong to harm people? So where did that come from? And another question, if morality comes from religion, why do different religions disagree on major moral issues? Why has right and wrong changed over time, inside the same religion? Think about history. At different times, people used religion to justify things we now call evil. Slavery, oppression, war, control of women, violence. So what does that tell us? Was the belief system guiding morality? Or was power using belief to guide people? And let's be real. If a book can be interpreted to support kindness and cruelty, then what is actually shaping behavior? The truth or the interpreter? Here's another uncomfortable question. Who benefits the most when you don't question? Because when people stop questioning, systems get stronger. When people stop questioning, leaders gain authority. When people stop questioning, control becomes normal. And some systems survive for generations not because they're true, but because they're inherited. That's a powerful thought. Because you can inherit a tradition and mistake it for truth. You can inherit fear and call it faith. You can inherit rules and call it morality. You can inherit identity and call it destiny. So let me ask you this. When was the last time you asked yourself what you believe without repeating what you were taught? When was the last time you thought, what if I'm wrong? Not as self-hate, not as rebellion, but as honesty. Because the strongest minds are not the ones who never doubt. They're the ones who can say, I could be wrong. Let me examine this. Now here's where a lot of people get stuck. If I question my beliefs, what do I replace them with? If I leave, what do I hold on to? If I stop believing what I was taught, will I lose meaning? But I want to challenge that. What if meaning isn't something you receive? What if it's something you build? What if peace doesn't come from certainty? What if peace comes from truth, even when truth is uncomfortable? Because the reality is, some beliefs feel good, but they shrink you. Some beliefs comfort you, but they control you. Some beliefs give you community, but they demand your silence. So here's a simple test. Does this belief help me become more compassionate? Does this belief help me become more honest? Does this belief make me more curious or more afraid? Does it help me think, or does it demand I submit? Does it invite questions, or does it punish them? And if you're watching this, I want you to do something with me. I want you to pick one belief you've never questioned. Just one. Where did I learn this? Who taught me this? What happens if it's not true? What would I lose if I let it go? What would I gain if I let it go? And here's the biggest question of all. If your belief system is true, why would it be threatened by your questions? Why would curiosity be a sin? Why would thinking be rebellion? Why would seeking be dangerous? Truth doesn't fear investigation. Control does. And I'm not telling you what to believe, I'm asking you, are you brave enough to be honest? Because breaking away from a belief isn't just intellectual. It's emotional. It's social. It can feel like you're tearing away a piece of yourself. But sometimes, the thing you thought was you was just something you were trained to protect. So I'll end with this. What if the greatest act of faith is not believing harder, but being honest enough to question? And what if the life you're meant to live begins the moment you stop fearing the questions? If this video made you think, even a little, drop a comment and answer this. What is one belief you're currently questioning, and why? Not to argue, not to fight, just to think. Because on this channel, you're allowed to ask.